Okay. All right, welcome everybody. It is nice to see a lot of faces that we saw last time and a couple of new ones. Raise your hand if you are new, you were not here at last month's meeting. We have Gayla, Sue, Pam, and Kathleen. Okay, well, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. As I mentioned last time, that this is an informal type of a meeting. I don't have a hard and fast agenda with slides and presentations. The idea is this is a tool for, or a venue for you as speech track coordinators to connect with other branches and other coordinators and share ideas and get new ideas and discuss policies and things like that. So it's very informal. I have some questions that I'm going to throw out there that I've received from some individuals via email or other method that I think are worth us spending time to talk about. And but if the topics fall flat and everybody is really doesn't have much to say on it, then I'll open the floor to questions from the field, from the group. So feel free to jump in and raise your hand. I'm not the best at seeing the little hands pop up, so don't be shy about just jumping in and saying, hey. Okay. So one of the topics that has come up multiple times in both the last meeting and via email, and after last month's meeting, I sent out a survey asking for suggestions for topics to discuss, and more than one person brought this up. But it seems to be a very important topic because it's I guess the seed for our success, for our contest, and that is how to recruit students. And students and also schools and other organizations that the students are members of. So what I would like to do is just turn this into a brainstorming session and ask members to throw out methods that are ideas, tricks of the trade, or whatever methods, throw them out there in like one sentence. I'll make a list and then we'll talk about them. We'll pick a couple and talk about them in depth. So what I'm going to do is put up some notes on the screen, so you should be able to see this. And I will write down method, as I hear the discussion going, I'll write down some different methods. And then after we get a list, maybe we can pick a couple to talk about in depth and evaluate. So is somebody who has had success, has a method that has been successful at recruiting students, want to throw it out there?
Sure, I'm happy to start if that's okay. At my
Perfect.
branch, one of the ways that we recruit students that's been successful is to be able to speak to students directly in the classroom. And we have a little program that we put together. We go over the student toolkit and we bring up a blank sign-up sheet, and we call it just an interest. No obligation, just an interest sheet to kind of gauge the interest level of those students. And that's helped us get contestants.
Okay. We can get more detail on that in a little bit. Anybody else have a method that they've used that has worked well?
For our branch, probably one of the best things has been social media. And and I'm afraid I'm not the best at that, but we're very lucky that we have a publicity person who seems to know how to get out to different, not just Facebook, but Instagram and some of those different media, and posts our information on that. And we've had a really good response from that.
Okay. Anybody else have any ideas? Kathleen?
I have not been with I'm not the coordinator, by the way. I'm just
Okay.
We're kind of taking turns coming to this. But our speech track program in our branch has been, I think this is our 15th year. I don't know. I haven't been around that long, but when I came to it, they already had set up, one of the districts in our area, in our county, has 9 high schools. So we kind of spread out, you know, our different activities, Tech Trek and everything, to different districts and stuff. And so it was decided to use those 9 high schools to recruit. And so over a period of time, we've made contact with specific people at those schools, either in the career center or the English teacher, whatever. Now that's changed some, but because we have that in play, we go back to the schools every year. We do workshops in those specific schools. We take it to the schools, but we do have contacts. I'm not saying that's we always get all the people we want, but that's the way we've done it.
Okay, that's all. We're just throwing out ideas here at this point.
We've used the youth leadership program. That's a program through Toastmasters. And we have had some high school students interested in attending the speech track contest.
Okay. And Elota, for just joining, what we're doing right now is just kind of spitballing and brainstorming. I've asked the attendees here to throw out methods that their branch has used to attract students to the speech track contest. And we're just throwing them out there, making a list, and then we'll discuss in more detail.
Okay.
Okay, nobody else has any other methods that you? Go ahead,
I have one other method that seems to have worked pretty well for us, in addition to the social media, is I just sort of, I'm trying to remember, we probably have 6 high schools within our catchment area. And I just contact if there's any speech and debate clubs, of course, and that's probably been a really good feeder for us. But I try to reach out to different organizations within the schools, just kind of cold calling, if I can use that term, and sending out letters. And surprisingly, I've gotten some response to that.
Okay. So let's see, 2 o'clock. Why don't, another good thing to know is what people have tried that has fallen flat. So just so we don't recreate, something that really doesn't work for whatever reason we may not know if we tried it. Has anybody, not that it's a negative thing, but I just want to know if anybody's tried something that really is not worth trying again.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I have a lot of things that I've tried that haven't worked, but one of them is do not take any information to school and leave it with the secretary. I'm sorry, I have a puppy that's decided to bark here, because it'll sit on the secretary's desk forever. And you really do, yes, you need to send a letter, but you also need to follow up with the phone call, because letters get lost, or they don't read them, or they scroll past them.
Yep. Yeah. Literature does tend to just kind of sit there on the counters. Mm-hmm. That's a good idea. That's good to know.
On that same note from Pam, we tried stuffing mailboxes. We got permission one year to put a flyer in every teacher's mailbox. That really didn't yield much help. Many contestants either.
Okay.
I have not had any luck going into the community newspapers. No responses at all. And I've done that 2 or 3 times. Okay.
That's good to know, because that I thought would be a good idea, but apparently that's not the target audience that we're looking for.
you know, I don't know about your communities, but our community here, our Stockton Record is all but defunct. It's all USA Network and all that kind of stuff, UPI stuff. So there's very, very little local news, and I read the newspaper, but most people do not, particularly people who are working. You know, I even read it online, and nobody takes the newspaper anymore. So, you know, I don't see that as being a good way at all. And we used to have those little, you know, the Lincoln Center Chronicle. You know, the shopping centers put out things like that and send them all out. They're not doing that anymore either in print. So.
If I may, one of the things we're trying this year and see how this works is I worked through one of the assistant superintendents in the high school district, and we got to present on Zoom to about 5 different councils within the district. So like social science, performing arts, English. Well, I can't remember what the other one was right off the bat, but we're trying that as a way of getting the information out. And then I was able to just send them the flyer and all of the information through email through their district. So we'll see if that works.
That's a good idea.
Something else that has helped us is to engage with a key teacher who becomes your cheerleader. We've had teachers who have made topics part of their curriculum or part of a discussion group. One teacher assigned it as extra credit, which encouraged some students to participate. Another teacher had them do essays on a topic, and 30 kids did it. And so they already wrote the essays. And so he convinced them that turning that into a speech wouldn't be so hard now that you've already written it out. So that has helped, especially if you have a teacher who's a cheerleader for you.
So how did you find this key teacher?
Well, when we first started the course, we didn't have those relationships, but over the years we built a relationship. We have a very small district, so it's a small town, small district. You just build relationships. You know, you start. Well, I'm sorry, my phone's ringing. You start with the superintendent in this case and get their buy-in, and you ask the superintendent, who would you recommend that might be interested in this? And she passes that down, and she gives you the name of the people. Could be an English teacher, could be history teacher. And so forth. And it just really helps to have a teacher who appreciates what we're bringing to the curriculum.
So how do you find the contact information for the superintendent? Does anybody know?
You can just go to the district website.
Yeah.
website.
Yeah.
And are they
But-
usually willing to take?
But if you don't have a small district, that superintendent's, you're not going to get past the gatekeepers there either. I mean, we have 3 different districts in our town here, and one of them, Stockton Unified, has over 40,000 students. You know, that superintendent's not going to be accessible to me.
Do they usually have assistants or assistant superintendents or other layers?
We would have to go down the line quite a bit, I think.
It helps if you were a teacher in that district. That's kind of a good foot in the door.
Yes.
In that case, Pam, you might look up the director of curriculum, because our topic this year is all about curriculum.
Yeah. Yes.
Do many branches are you aware of the members in your branch, and if any of them are teachers or former teachers in the area?
Most of our members are teachers or former
Teachers.
teachers.
Okay. And have you put it forward to those individuals to ask them to assist in getting into the schools?
Well, there's an idea.
Also, your schools may be aware of a homeschool situation. Most schools are also aware of those parents who are homeschooling. They are often very receptive to projects like this.
Yeah, that's a great great idea, is looking to contact homeschool. Because they do have, if I remember right, they do have some central um, uh, administrator or something that they report to. Yeah. So Marlene, talk about a little bit, when you say speak to students directly in the classroom, how did you manage to get there?
Permission from the school and relationship with the teacher. And sometimes I'm only have 10 minutes. One time he had a couple of classes together and he said, take all the time you want. He was happy. He was grading papers while I was in front of the classroom. And it's great. It's a little workshop and we just go over the student toolkit and give them some tips on speaking, some basic tips, and have them sign up, and I bring the toolkits with us, and that's it, and during COVID, we Zoomed into their classroom one year.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I bet that's pretty efficient. Mm-hmm. Do you have any material that you used? Like a template or?
The student toolkit I used, of course, mm-hmm. and just my own notes from my own practice.
Okay.
Yeah. But the student toolkit, because that helps you and it becomes your agenda really, because you go over that with them so they understand about the mechanics of the contest. They understand the 2 mandatory forms. They understand the topic. You just go over that, and you can just do that if you want. I like to add a little extra, but whatever, and I think it's a lovely way to connect directly with the students and have them sign an interest list. And
what's the hook that you use with the students to get them to buy into that? This is a good idea for them.
I often will start by asking them, how would you like to earn $500 in 5 minutes? or do you think it's possible to earn $500 in 5 minutes?
Okay, that's an interesting hook out there. It at least gets them to listen, but then it's really more than 5 minutes because they have to prepare the speech. But
right, of course, yeah. But
what have other people used as a interest, as a hook?
Ours is a cash reward.
Cash reward.
We do the same thing. We have 500 for first place.
I would be interested to ask you guys though, has that been a main motivator, do you think, the money? Because I have an opinion on that, but I'm curious to know.
We did a survey 2 years ago with the students. I didn't repeat it last year, but the motivator was not the money, which I didn't know. It was the opportunity to utilize their skills. So
I would agree that money is not, you could offer $1,000. I don't think that's the key either.
I'm interested in what you said, $500. Is that your local first place winner wins?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, 5, and then second wins what?
3, but is 3, and third is, if we have enough contestants, third would be 100.
Okay.
And that wasn't and we didn't start out that way. Of course, we did not start out that way. We did it much lower when we first started out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, ours has gone up over the years, but we don't do 5. We do 300 for first place,
which is fine. Yeah, which is fine. Yeah.
Anybody else do anything else?
Yeah, this is a good segue because this was the next question I was going to ask. So go ahead, Kathleen.
Well, of course, the money is a hook, and on the flyers, they have flyers that are handed out to school, and there's a poster, and the money is in there. But one of the things that we talk about, learning how to have a voice, to be able to express your opinion, to be, that kind of thing, to be able to, no matter what field you're going into, as a person, as a citizen, being able to learn how to express their opinion and make a difference with their voice. That whole part of it, I think we try. Now, I don't know how many do it for that, but we do try to encourage, we do use that as part of the hook.
I agree. That's very, very important. Yep, very important.
Yeah. Has anybody tried working through, since speech and debate clubs are kind of not as prevalent as they used to be back in the day, going through maybe an instructor, a teacher that teaches government or social studies?
Good
Has
idea.
anybody ever tried that avenue?
Well, actually, for myself, it really was just such a great opportunity. One of our members is on the League of Women Voters, and hers, there was another woman, League of Women Voters, and this member who was also with AAUW had permission to go into an economics class and register the students that were about to turn 18. And so the person that's also in AAUW said, would I like to come and talk about speech check? I'm like, yes, and so I came and, all sat through all that was going. Then at the end, I got up and talked about it, and they had the forms. The teacher was very receptive, and so far only 2 have applied. That I was in 4 different classes, but the teacher has the applications, and I have names of those that took applications, and so the teacher is going to ask them, when are you going to turn this in? Are you going to turn this in? So that was great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So I mean, the common thread here seems to be schools as a contact point for getting to students, whether it be extracurricular or through the regular curriculum.
Something I would caution too is make sure that you consult, usually on the website, the school's website, their school calendar for the year. We've had a situation where we tried to find out other contests being held, other activities, and we ended up competing with a big school activity on the same night, and that affected the number of contestants. So the school calendar is a very valuable tool when you're planning the date of your contest.
Yeah. If you have it on the same night as prom, you're gonna
or homecoming, or
right.
Yeah.
Or big football game. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else have any insight in this area that maybe we can share?
Well, 2 other groups that we have in the past and are still contacting. One is the Girl Scouts, because they have high schoolers. And then the second group, and you may or may not be familiar with them, they're AVID students, A-V as in Victor, I-D. Part of their curriculum is public speaking.
Oh,
And
perfect.
If AVID means advancement via individual determination. And many of the schools in California have that as part of their curriculum.
That's really good to know. That does sound like it would dovetail quite nicely with their goals. Okay.
I also recall telling our students that this looks really good on a college application for those who are considering going on.
Yeah. Especially for the seniors, the juniors and sophomores may not have that on their radar yet, but that definitely is. So going back to the prize money idea, so I had some email questions with regard to that. Some potentially new branches are trying to explore setting up a new program. They want to know really how much typically is offered for prize money, so that they can identify how much to allot. Sue?
We did it last year for the first time.
Uh-huh.
And I came up with the AAUW branch giving $1,000 total for this. So it was $500 for the first winner, $300 for the second place, and $200 for the third place. And that was very well received.
And is it a manageable amount as far as raising the funds from your budget, from the branch budget?
Yes.
That seems to be about what I'm hearing from people. It's in the $300 to $400 range, or $300 to $500 range. Anybody offer more than 500?
We do. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Karen.
We do, and personally, last year I felt like the first prize was exorbitant, and so I asked the board to drop it down. And what I wanted at the time was 500 for first prize, the figure that many of you are coming up with. But the board decided that they wanted it to drop it down. They dropped it down, but to $750 for first place, and then 500, and then 250. And we had an unusual circumstance last year. We had 2 people tied for for second place.
Oh,
So we kind of had to figure out how within our budget we were gonna. I said second place, but I think it was actually, you know what, this is awful. I can't remember if it was first or second, but at any rate, we have to stay within our budget and figure out how to divide that up. And it was it was a little bit of a challenge, but we did it.
wouldn't you take the amount for second and third place and divide it in half then?
Well, the way I recall it was, it must have been second place, because we divided the 1,000 into 2 500s and then the 250 for the third. So we said 2 first place winners. Please forgive me because I could be misremembering
Okay.
this, but this is my recall.
Yeah.
2
Well, I think
500s
the
and-
takeaway is that you got to be ready to respond to a unique situation.
Well, it was totally out of my,
Karen?
bounds.
I have a solution for you if this happens again.
Better not.
Well, it very well could. You could have a tie for first or a tie
Oh,
for
yeah.
second. Yeah, and that's why in the toolkit we talk about having you have your judges, but in the toolkit we also recommend having what's known as a tie-breaking judge.
Mhm.
And that takes care of everything. So the purpose of a tie-breaking judge, they rank all the contestants. Say you have 8 contestants, they rank 1 through 8, and that person's ballot is only opened in the event of a tie, and that is used to break the tie. So you don't have to worry about calculating, 2 second place, what to do. Yeah, and it works really well.
I think this year we'll have better success with that, Marlene. Last year, we had a terrible time recruiting judges for whatever reason. In the past, it was not really a big issue, but I have to be honest about, in the past, we've had a situation where one judge forgot and didn't show up at all. And one judge had to be reminded, despite, the typical reminders that you would send out. So that was very unique, but I think we've overcome that this year.
Good,
So
good.
how many judges do you usually have? I was just wondering,
3
throwing it out to
regular
everybody.
and 3 regular judges.
Okay.
And we do try to have the backup, but last year was just an anomaly, I think.
This
Okay.
actually is a good segue to the other next thing on the list I wanted to talk about. It came up in an email conversation about using AAUW members as judges. In the past, it was not allowed. And I think it was 21, was it, Marlene, that we changed the policies and procedures to allow AAUW members, your branch members, to be judges, with the caveat that if they have a personal acquaintance with the contestant, they have to abstain, or they can't be a judge. Actually, they can't just abstain from judging that person. They can't participate at all.
As a
But-
judge.
As a judge. But the question that I got from somebody was, they were saying that I think they established at their branch level that as some additional restrictions that they couldn't be employed by the branch, and I forget what else. They couldn't be related to any, and that's kind of like the personal acquaintance. But how I think going forward, it's probably a good idea that we actually zero in on be more definitive about what relationship disqualifies somebody from being a judge. Personal acquaintance is pretty vague. Obviously related. Does anybody have any ideas on that? I don't know about being employed by AUW, why that would be negative. But
Well, I mean, the purpose of recusing yourself is just to avoid any conflict, right, of interest.
yeah.
And that's really the only thing. And each branch will have to make that judgment. We don't have I don't think we have at the state level anything in the toolbook or the toolkit that says, this is what a conflict of interest would look like. We are place that judgment at the branch, right? You guys understand what conflict of interest would be. And that really hasn't been an issue.
Just a community.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Even just a community member could also be appointed with one of the speakers or one of the schools or whatever. I mean, AAUW members are community members as well. So,
right. Yeah, it's just common sense, I think.
Yeah.
How do you enforce it though? Do you ask the judges do you give the list of participants to the judges ahead of time and say, do you know any of these contestants? Because I can see it coming up that they're, a contestant pops up that they're listening to, and it's like, oh, that's my friend's daughter.
It's tough in our district, or our branch, Marlene, you'd probably agree, because we are a small town, we're a small district, we only have one high school, and it's hard to, get a lot of people that don't know somebody.
Right, which is why we often, we rarely use teachers. We don't use teachers in our district because the chances are they might know the contestant, unless it's,
they would, yeah.
But we'll use a teacher who's retired, for example, but we'll use community members, we'll use city council, we'll use, there is a nice, even in a small town, there's a nice pool of people from which you can draw, for judges.
So on this subject, I think if I remember correctly, that we were going to say that in January, we were going to talk about judges and how to prove judges.
Yes.
Or get them. And I'm worried that that's too late and that we should talk earlier about that, because people are busy and I need to line them up ahead of time.
Okay.
So I would just put that out there.
Sure.
Go ahead, Marlene, you can talk about it. This is a good time to talk about it. You have the first webinar scheduled for January 10th.
Right, and the purpose of that, and I can move that up if necessary, you guys let us know. The purpose of that is to show you how to brief your judges. That's the main thing, how to brief them. And that would go a long way. I forget who said that they had a judge who was a no-show. I forget, despite your reminder. One way to mitigate that problem is to have a judge's briefing. And so I'm going to go over what a judge's briefing is. It really helps to do that about a week before the contest. But your question isn't that. Your question is how to recruit judges, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry.
That was a sneeze.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear. Yeah, so one of the great things about recruiting judges for your branch is that it really shines a light on your branch when you go out into the community. And I would say the pool can be quite varied and large. You can draw your judges from education. You can draw them from government. You could draw them from the community, volunteer groups. You can draw them from business, small business owners. And you're looking, of course, for a common thread. I mean, you want someone who's fair and impartial and who can, and you'll go over in the judge's briefing, of course, you'll go over the ballot and you'll go over what their expectations are and how to do it and so forth. So, you know, and lining them up now is a great idea. Make sure they know when the contest is. Sometimes you can't do it until you know when your date is, right? So when the contest is and where it is, and then tell them there's going to be a judge's briefing, roughly, you know, your convenience, but roughly, you know, a few days before would be great. You can do it by Zoom, or you could also do a briefing again, just to make sure that they understand everything the night of the contest. You have them come, if your contest, say, is scheduled for 6, have them come at 5:30, and your chief judge or whoever is watching over the judging part of your contest would be the one to do the briefing. And they would go over at that time what the judge is responsible for, just as a reminder, so that there's no misunderstanding, you know. Does that help?
You know, I've used of the same judges. Well, there's about 5 of them, but I use 3 of them each year for years, and they seem to be getting better at it every year. So
It is.
I don't have to do the briefing. You know, they remember criteria from the years before, so that really works for me. Getting judges is not a problem.
Yeah, and you know, it's great that you have judges you can rely on. That's wonderful. Sometimes I like to bring in returning judges who want to come back again, which is always a nice thing, and a few new judges too. It's a nice mix to have. Judging is so critical to a successful contest, right? So we want to make sure that they're available and willing, right?
I'd like to see some guidelines for the judges. Like, you know, I think it was mentioned that each judge have a ballot and don't converse with each other. Like we had that happen where they were conversing with each other, because that shouldn't be. Like the tiebreaker judge, yes, but you know, that was a mistake. And
I agree.
And also, like there was one of the judges wanted to like relax the girls. It was all girls, to relax them by asking some sort of interest questions first.
No.
I should have never allowed that. I mean,
Right.
that's not the concept.
Exactly. And in your toolkit, it does talk. There is a page about judges.
Instructions.
Yes, there is.
The judges.
But I agree. I agree with you, Eloda.
One of the other things that we have to remember to tell the judges is sometimes the speakers will have an opinion in their speech that the judges may not agree with. And I keep trying, I tell them, don't forget, this is above all a speech contest. Right. And yes, we want the content to be organized, blah, 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 blah. But it may not be something that you agree with. You are judging them on their ability to communicate their ideas. So
good for you, Pam. I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree. And I was answering Eloda. I'm sorry, Eloda, I was muted. I was speaking away and I was muted. I'm trying to remember your point about guidelines. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I mean, it's easier to do on Zoom contests because obviously they're not in the same room. But in the event that you have it in a community room or a conference room or a larger room or something, you may want to physically separate the judges and have either your committee members sit between them or some other physical method of preventing.
Yeah, let me jump in. I remember, Eloda, now what I was responding to. You were mentioning that they were trying to make the girls feel comfortable.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah.
Absolutely not. I agree with you. The judges should have no interaction with the contestants. In fact, if I have a program, I will not even mention the judges' names because a judge is often more comfortable, and it's a best practice to be anonymous if they can. And if it's a live contest, it's also a good practice. Have them spread out throughout the audience, you know, so they're not all bunched up together, right? Have someone sitting just around, and they'll be marking their ballots, and so they can listen to the speakers. But you are right. They should not be conversing with each other. It is not a consensus. It is an independent judging activity.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Do you introduce the judges at the end of the contest as?
Yes,
thank you
that is
type of thing?
that is your prerogative. If you would like to acknowledge your judges at the end of the contest, when the contest is over, that is certainly your prerogative. You may certainly do so and thank them, and you
Yeah,
know,
that's actually a good idea. Yeah.
Because it is a thankless job, right? It's a thankless job.
Yeah.
And it's such an important job. I mean, you know, if your budget permits, maybe you want to thank them with a Starbucks card or something like that.
We do that. Yeah,
That's
we
nice.
do. We always give them a nice thank you note and there's a card, although one of them gave us back the gift card. She said it was such a joy to do it. I'd love to do it every year. And she actually gave us back the gift card. I still
Wow.
have it. Yeah.
That is phenomenal. Yeah, and I agree with most judges that I've encountered. Many have said they would like to do it again. They find it a very illuminating experience, and it really does inspire them when they hear especially our girls. You know, when they hear them. Oh, you know, and I think a lot of them are thinking back to when they were that age and how they would not have that courage, right, to do it. In fact, they don't have it to this day, which I think is why some members don't go into the classroom, because it would mean they have to speak in front of an audience, in front of a group. So
I've been buying plants for the last few years, you know, cheap plants, you know,
That's
that
nice.
decorates the stage. And then at the end, I tell the speakers that at the end of it, they're to pick them up, to take one to each judge, to the timer, to the videographer. And that's their thank you for doing that.
that's
So,
lovely. That's a lovely,
Oh,
very
that's a
nice.
wonderful idea.
a lovely
Yeah.
gesture. You can also make a certificate, you know, a certificate of appreciation
mhm.
for your judge, for your timer, and have the Speech Trek logo on there, and they might
Good
like that
idea.
as well.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I hope that answers your question, but we can certainly move that up if you think it would be valuable to move up the how to brief your judges webinar.
What was the date for that?
What's our date?
January 10th.
Yeah,
January 10th. Yeah.
January 10th? Okay.
I think that if it's about the briefing, I think the timing then is perfect.
Perfect.
I really learned a lot from the discussion that we just had, and that's been very helpful.
Okay, great. Great. Well, we'll definitely do it then on January 10th, and I will make sure everybody knows about it. It's just, it goes such a long way to having to ensure a smooth contest. You know, when you're dealing with volunteers, things do happen.
Yeah.
So there's lots of best practices that we'll share. One of them is to have more judges than you need.
Yeah.
You know,
Margot, you had a question?
I do, a quick one. Since we're talking about judges, as part of the student toolkit, there's a page at the end about it that shows the judge's ballot.
Yeah.
The judge's ballot. Do we give that to them, to the students? before?
absolutely. It's in their
Okay.
student. Yes, it's in their
This is good.
student toolkit. So they
Yeah, they
know.
need,
Yeah.
yeah, they
On,
need to know what they're being judged on. Yeah.
okay, that's what I thought. On the one from this year, it has last year's topic on it.
Uh-oh.
Doesn't have this topic.
Oh, no.
Oh,
I don't think.
the one you downloaded?
Yeah. I
Oh,
was
that's
gonna
a
email
huge mistake.
you about that, but then it got close to tonight, and I thought, well, I'll tell you tonight.
We'll fix that right away. Gee,
Oh, my goodness.
I
How did that happen?
I don't know, because we approved it with the new topic, so we'll fix that right away.
It's just on the judges page, the judges ballot page.
Okay.
And this, in the student toolkit, not the
In
branch
the,
tool?
in the student toolkit, yes.
Okay,
In the branch one is correct, I believe.
Thank you. Well, oh my gosh, we'll.
okay,
correct
I
it right away.
just downloaded it and is
This
it the
Yes,
the ballot? Oh, you're right. It's the ballot. It's the one on the ballot.
Yeah.
Okay,
We can fix that right away.
I
yeah.
was gonna
If
tell
you're
you
gonna
that, Marlene, and then I thought, no, I'm not gonna bug you with it. I'll bug you.
Oh, no, we gotta fix that right away. Yeah, right away.
Because I'm
Thank
getting
you
ready
so
to,
much.
I'm getting
Yeah.
ready to send those out and get those out to kids, so.
Yeah,
Well, it's in Word, so feel free to please, fix it on the one you have.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
just cut and
Okay,
paste it from, because it's a Word document, so cut and paste it from earlier
Patty
and
Ahern, it's Patty Ahern from Redlands. I am looking at the judge's ballot on the student's toolkit. I don't see anything other than just the judge's ballot. I don't see anything on the theme. I don't know. I just have
I do.
I just had these printed today.
What?
Yeah, I just downloaded one here. Let me share the one I just downloaded like 2 minutes ago.
Hmm.
And you can see it says the topic right here. at the-
Yeah,
at
that's
the top.
incorrect. Oh my
does,
gosh.
yeah.
Yeah.
Shame on them.
Oh, that
And
is.
Patty, what did you say there's missing?
Well, I was just gonna say, can we just cross that topic out?
Yes, this is a Word document, so feel free to replace it with the correct topic.
I'm typing the topic right now in the chat. Hold on one sec, everybody, so you have it.
Sue, you have a
Well, it's
question?
all-
I have
Oliver.
a question while we're talking about this page. This is a very difficult page for the judges to use. It's so
Yep.
small.
Right, it's too
And if it
small.
could be redesigned somehow to make it a lot larger and easier to read, that would just save a lot of trouble.
I
You can
think,
change the size when you're printing it though.
yeah, it's an Excel spreadsheet. So if you have Excel, you can, I think, make it to your liking. I
If
believe.
you, as long as you maintain the same content, you can change the format. You can do an electronic format if your judges all have laptops, or you can make it, a couple pages so that it's easier to read. You have the ability to do that. It's not in there as an Excel spreadsheet, but we may
Okay,
be able
that
to
would be-
provide that
It
to you.
would be helpful if it was an Excel spreadsheet, because otherwise I'd have to recreate it.
Marlene, do you
don't
have the version of it in Excel? I don't.
Yeah, I do. And I can certainly send it to you if you would like.
Okay, that would be really helpful, because I got a lot of pushback on that, and just trying to,
Well, let me explain. I mean,
that.
you certainly, I know one branch told me that they prefer to use one ballot per contestant.
yeah.
The reason this is
Yeah.
designed this way is so that I think there's 1, 2, 3, there's like 12 or
Like 10,
13.
yeah.
Yeah, it's designed so that a judge only needs one piece of paper for like a dozen contestants. That's why it's designed that way. But if you don't like it that way, you can certainly do one ballot per contestant if you prefer,
Yeah, that's what they would prefer. So if I had it in an Excel, I could like take out those extra cells, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you could. And now, what's the best way, Lana? How about, Lana, if I email it to you so you have it?
Yeah, and then I will email it out to the peer group on the peer group mass emailing.
And we'll make sure it has the right topic.
Yeah.
Can it be enlarged too? Because it's so small.
Yeah, you will have the ability to enlarge it
I
yourself.
believe
yeah.
so. I believe so.
Oh.
We'll find
I
out.
Yeah.
wonder if you could make it landscape instead of portrait.
Oh, yeah, that would help too.
Which you
But
could do.
there is a lot of white space, like in here, these can be made smaller in the middle, and like Marlene said, we could take out some of these columns at the end, so we don't need as many
But I will
contestants.
tell you,
could do-
as a judge myself, when I'm judging, I like having the one page, because when I'm comparing, speaker to speaker, it's right there. I don't have to go flipping through
Okay.
pages and pages, That's
I
why
see
I
that.
prefer it. But again, you can make it to your liking. As long
Okay.
as the content and everything else stays the same, that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the important thing, is to have the content be the same. But yeah, a landscape format, or
That
just getting rid of some
might
of the
solve
white
it
spaces.
right there.
Pardon?
I'm not talking about a mammoth change.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Just going to landscape.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you did it here.
Yeah. Better?
Oh,
The
yeah.
the font's still small.
It's still very small.
Yeah, right here is still small.
But I think when you print it out, it's not that small. I don't think.
Well,
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's really small.
Yeah. Yeah, in the toolkit, it's just a picture. It's just cut and paste as a picture. You can see that.
Right.
So it's not editable as is. So that's why we need an editable version like
Let me
Excel.
let me send it to you, Lana, and then you can we can go from there, okay?
Okay.
I'll make a note. I can try.
Thanks
and
for
do that.
bringing that to our attention.
Let's see. Do. Let me see.
Okay.
I have a question about the the
The
memorandum.
memorandum of understanding, MOU.
Yeah.
I went through it today and it kept saying next, 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 and then it was supposed to be sending, but it wouldn't send. So it just stuck. It was just stuck there.
It wouldn't, it's at the, yeah, so you're supposed to read the text and then hit next, hit the next. There is like 5 or 6 pages or something.
Right.
And then there should be a, yeah, I'm looking at the list right now and I don't see your name, so it didn't take it.
No, it didn't. It wouldn't let me send it.
Well, it's not a send, it's a Google Doc. So all you have to do is complete it and it automatically saves it to the spreadsheet.
Okay, I
To my
went.
spreadsheet. I mean, you don't have access to the spreadsheet, but so I get an email saying somebody completed their MOU.
Okay, I'll try it again because the last one I did, it just said next and there wasn't anywhere else to go.
There's
Let
one
me-
to fill out, there's boxes to check
Well,
after each next
Right.
that I found.
I did mine and filled out the various blanks, and I had a question about it as well. And my question has to do with the fact that this year's MOU only references the branch president and the branch president's information, and nowhere do you capture the speech track coordinator's information, except for at the very beginning with my email. And for
Right.
some reason, I know exactly why AAUW California has my Gmail rather than my regular email, but that's okay. I can use that, but nowhere else do you indicate. In the previous MOUs, the speech track coordinator's information was all there. And in fact, the primary communication was between speech track coordinator and the state speech track coordinator. And so in this form, there was no place to put all of my information.
Well, I brought that up with the president who made the, who converted this and said the exact same thing that you're saying. And their response to me was, that information isn't critical. We just need the branch president and we need,
Except that all of
it
the
is,
information you're going to be getting it from me, not the branch
Right.
president.
But I do
I'll
get
be
that
sending you the video. I'll be sending you the check. It's not the branch
Yeah.
president.
But I do get an email that has that says that you were your email, you were the one that submitted the information. It's just,
Okay.
so, but that is a good feedback. And for next year, I'm definitely wanting to, I will update that to make
Yeah,
sure.
I
that
get it.
it's that
Sandy
information.
believes less is more, and that's fine. But really in this kind of a situation, I think you want
Who's
both
submitting it?
sets of information. You want both the president and the branch coordinator.
Right. And
Right,
yeah,
I agree.
yeah, we do have that information. It's just not obvious to you because
No, I know you have, because otherwise I wouldn't have gotten the email to attend this. But so I know you know who I am. The question is on the MOU. It's not clear.
Okay.
And I did mine, and I'm just going to share out right now. Our schools really get very busy at the beginning of the year. So many of the forensic competitions happen in January and February. And we were running up into conflicts with various forensic competitions. Our speech and debate, we have speech and debate programs in 5 of the 6 high schools that I reach out to. And they really wanted to do it at the end of this year. So we're doing ours next month.
Yeah,
Oh.
California Online, I think, is doing theirs early as well.
Yeah, it's just, all the speech, and I have been doing this for quite a few years, so I have the contact information and I have permission from all the superintendents to go directly to the teachers. So I do that. And they all said, no, there's too much. We're doing too much in January and February. Do it sooner. So this year we're doing it sooner.
When's your contest, Kathleen?
November 11th.
Wow, that
Oh
is
my
fast.
goodness, that's like
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Pretty soon. But I
Ours
got
is
me a
November
venue and I got
30th.
me a couple of judges and I've got a couple of interested students. So, hey, last year we only had one student and she took second place in the state. So,
Wow. Wow.
we'll see what happens this year.
Well, that makes 3 that I'm aware of that are having contests in November.
Early before yeah.
I wonder if we should move that up a little bit.
Well, I don't know. For years, I've been doing it since the very beginning, Alhambra has. And we always tried to do it in January or February. But our number of contestants dropped off. And when I inquired, what's the deal? And they said, we just have too many competitions. There's just too many things going on. And the students are freer, later at the end of the calendar year, November, December. And so I sent out various potential dates to them. And the majority said November 11th. So even though it's a 3-day weekend, I'm going for it.
Well, how about this?
Mm.
If for anyone who is having an early contest and they would like just input on a judge's briefing, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to you one-on-one, just if you would like.
Okay.
She's already doing it for mine, so.
Yeah.
Well, I've done this before, and we potentially will have some repeats. I don't know. We've had some pretty fun. I know personally the immediate past president of the Tournament of Roses, and we had her come be a judge for one of our years.
Yeah.
And we got the mayors of a couple of the cities to come and be judges. And so, yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah. Well, knowing this, we definitely have to take this into consideration as we prepare for next season. It was a little difficult this year because we had the changeover in our
Right.
committee itself, but we definitely will shoot for being ready earlier next year.
Well, you're ready. You have the topic, and that's really all that's
Yeah, the
needed.
topic and the toolkits and
And
stuff.
we can fuss with the toolkits ourselves, as you pointed out. All that we really need to do is pull the topic out and put the new one in. So there's a few other things that need to be updated, like the
Yeah.
change from you, Lana, from Marlene. But
Yeah.
in general, that's not too much of a difficulty thing. But I kind of laughed to myself as I was filling out the MOU that my contest is going to be before the due date of the MOU. But I thought, oh, well, as long as they've got that MOU before I have the contest, that's
That's the
Right.
key. Yeah.
Right.
So-
Hey, Loda, you have a question?
Yeah, no, for Conejo Unified, it's like the opposite, because they have mock trial and some students won't even be starting until December because on their speeches, like to prepare, because right now they're preparing for mock trial, which they go to the
Interesting.
courthouse and do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every
So it's
district's
different
different.
programs. Each district does different programs.
Right.
So the one limiting factor too is when we can have our state contests, and we tie it with the annual
Meeting.
leadership, the annual meeting, which is in April, and which is actually pretty early. So it would be nice if we could have our contest a little later. That would give you a little bit more wiggle room as far as scheduling. But
But I
okay.
just wanted to say something since I know we're after 8 o'clock. I'm really interested to know if people are asking for a first draft, sort of maybe perhaps when
Of the
you get
speech?
yes,
Yeah, we are.
just
No.
to sort of make the person or the student accountable that they didn't use AI to write it, and also so that you can
Interesting.
kind of do a little fact checking ahead of time, just to sort of see where they're coming from.
Wouldn't that be their coach's responsibility, if they're in a
Yeah.
speech class or?
Yeah, I
Well,
didn't think it's our job to look at a draft myself.
Oh, okay. Well,
You know, I don't know what other branches do.
Well, we actually do informational workshops in November at each of the schools. And
Oh.
so the person that gives the workshop turns that they become the coach for
Mhm.
whoever the students at the schools that they do the workshops at. So in a way, we are the coaches as well. But we do have a rough draft. And then what we tell them is that we want the rough draft. And again, because we want the deadline, we want a deadline for the application, a deadline for the draft, just so, you know, they've got this timeline. And then we tell them, do you want feedback at all? And that's up to them. And of course, we don't, you know, tell them how to write it, but if they want any feedback generally, then we will give it to them as coaches. If they don't, that's up to them.
That sounds like an interesting way to go about it. Two caveats on that I'm thinking about. One, of course, is to make sure they understand that they can't read it. Right.
During
there's
the
no
during the
reading.
presentation?
Right. They
No,
can't
there's
read
no
it.
reading. No,
Right, right.
It's, but
And the second thing, what was my second point? They can't read it, and maybe I don't know, it just flew out of my head. But anyhow, yeah, just so they realize that they're not going to bring it up with them.
Oh,
you
no,
know.
they know that. Matter of fact, like I said, we do informational workshops in each of the schools. And, you know, some of those things are, you know, they know. Matter of fact, some of them decide not to compete because they can't read it, which is fine, you know, I mean, but yeah, so we do become the judges, we do, and then it's up to them how much feedback they want. And usually most of them will say, I never have had someone that said, no, I don't want any feedback.
Oh, I remember. I remember the second point.
What's the other one?
And of course, a judge would not be looking at this, right?
Right, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
said, this is just between the coaches and the girls.
Right.
And we do it anyway, you know, if they want an in person, if they want to just send it you know, well, actually they send it to us email, but whatever's comfortable for them as far as coaching. So we give
Nice.
them a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, nice.
were you the
who
one
are
who said
coaches?
that you had a whole program set up with?
No, that
leaders?
was Sherry, I think that you alluded.
Well,
to.
that's my branch. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
you're.
I decided to come tonight instead of Sherry, but yes, the Sacramento branch. It's the same branch.
Oh, okay. I'm in Auburn, so.
Yay.
Oh, well, you're not very far away at all.
Right.
Northern California. Well, that's all I have on my list is just, you know, remind you guys about the due date of the MOU, which we already talked about. And the next meeting, peer group meeting, I have scheduled for November 15th, which is the week before Thanksgiving. Are you finding this helpful at all? I know we've had a few nuggets that have had some thumbs up. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So we continue to we'll probably have one meeting in November, skip December because of the holidays, and do one in January. And that'll probably be the last one because people will already have their contests at least up and going, if not already done. So as long as this is a useful way to spend your Wednesday evening, I'm happy to set these meetings up.
I got a lot of, even though we've been doing it a long time, I wrote down a couple, at
Good.
least a half a dozen little suggestions from people. So I thought this was great.
Good. I'm glad.
Lana, I emailed you the Excel
Okay.
judges note.
Thank you. And I'll attach it out in an email to
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody.
All right.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
everybody.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.
Bye-bye.
Bye, speech trackers. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.